everybody, this is Cheri at djsundry.blogspot.com, and it is ATC time. Now, if you are new to ATCs and you don't know what they are, I'm going to give you a quick explanation. Now, today I don't have a full tutorial showing you the finish. I'm just showing you the finished project, and then I'll walk you through what I used and how I did it. But an ATC is short for artist trading cards. Artist trading cards are cards that you simply exchange with other crafters, kind of like the idea of old trading cards, or they're the same size as baseball cards. There aren't a lot of rules for ATCs, but there are a couple, so let's talk about those. The first rule is size. Now, we crafters get a little bit creative, but ATC cards are pretty much a standard size. They are 2.5 inches by 3.5 inches, and that's just the size that they've been set out to be. So if you make something a little bit bigger, it may look like an ATC, but it's really going to be something else. The next thing about ATC cards are finished ATC cards are trading cards, and the fun part behind that is they're not to be sold. They're not something that you sell at your craft fairs or something like that, although you can, I suppose. But the idea behind ATCs was this is something fun for artists to share with each other, or in my case, crafters. So this is the size of a standard ATC. This is just a piece of chipboard, and this is what I used for the base of my ATC. And the reason why is because the paper that I'm using today isn't really heavy enough to make a substantial ATC card, and so I wanted to add some bulk to it. So I made this the core, and then I covered the front and the back because who wants to see ugly chipboard, right? So let me show you what I've done. This is the first one that I've made. Now, this red paper that you see in the background is from Coordinations, and it's from the Timeless collection, and it just comes in a paper pack. I picked it up at my Joann's. It's really pretty thin paper, and it's a canvas. I think they call it a canvas texture, which means one side has more of a canvas feel, the other side is flatter. I initially thought I was going to use the canvas fill because I like that, but the image didn't stamp as cleanly on it, so that's why I flipped it over to the other side and used Versamark to stamp my stamp. So I stamped it in Versamark, and the stamp that I used is one, it's called Antique Brocade from Hero Arts, and it's just a mini background stamp is what it's called. It's not very big. It's only about probably 3 inches by 3 inches square. And so it didn't quite cover my 3.5 there. And so what I did is I inked around the edge when I was all done with some Studio G white ink. And it's just a little tiny round ink pad that I picked up at the dollar spot at Walmart. So after I stamped my image onto the background paper, then I went over that and embossed it in white heat embossing. With white heat embossing, and so it gives it that brocade kind of vintagey look. These ATCs are actually for a swap that I am participating in over at Craft Happens. I'm sorry, at artandsassy.ning.com, not Craft Happens, that doesn't exist anymore, but at artandsassy.ning.com. And the rules for their particular swap was one of the rules was you needed to use a vintage Valentine image of some sort, and then you also you had to have a certain number of elements. I think it was 4. I don't know, I have more than that, because an element is like paper layers, flowers, ribbon. I use glossy accents. I use spellbinders. This frame here is a Spellbinders 3 from labels number 3 frame, and I cut that out on my gray and did the embossing on it. And then I put my image, and I picked up these images over at Etsy, and you just buy, it was only like $3, I think, and you just go to Etsy and search under images, and I searched under vintage Valentine's images, and it printed out on a piece of paper, and you just save the file, and then you can print as many as you need. And so it printed out, on an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. I bet it printed out probably 20, 30 images. And so then I did have to hand cut them out in the oval form. And I printed them on kind of a buff colored paper. I'll show you one that's not. This is the color of the paper. and one that was cut out. I printed them on the buff colored paper, and then after I adhered it to my frame, I used glossy accents, which I think you can see that shimmer from the glossy accents all over the top. Then I tied my bow with 3 Girl Jam antique white ribbon, and it just made this really pretty vintagey crinkly bow. And then the top is this flower that I was given in a swap, and it was a cream colored flower. And so to add some interest to that flower, I used paints from Creative Inspirations, and I used Tutu Pink, and I put some of that down, and then I kind of dabbed some Creative Inspirations coal paint over it because the pink was too much, but it was the only color that I had that was even close. So that kind of muted out that pink so that it wasn't too, it brought in the gray that I have going here, but it muted out that pink because I really don't have pink going on anywhere else, but it still gave it that soft Valentine's flair. Now this one I added a little twist to the back. So you always have to cover the back. It can just be covered with paint, it can be stamped, it can be covered with paper. Well, I chose to do paper. And whereas this side is really nice and almost elegant looking, there's a fun twist on the back. I have this fun paper. This is paper from the Paper Studio that I picked up at Hobby Lobby, and it's just a collage of old-fashioned Valentines. And so I put my I just taped that, or adhered that down using my ATG and made it the right size, so nothing, it doesn't have to be decorated on the back, it just needs to have something to cover that chipboard. And then I put my information right there. So I've got my blog on this one here. This one says it's number 4 of 6. I've signed it, and then hidden in here is my YouTube channel as well, because part of artist trading cards is letting people know who you are. So I made 6 of them, as you can tell, because that was 4 of 6. And this is another one. And another. And another. And another. I think I just needed 3 or 4 for the swap, I'm not sure, but I always make one for me to put into my little ATC holder. And then I have one that I'm sending with my recent giveaway. I'll send it to the winner of my giveaway. So there we have artist trading cards for Valentine's Day. Thanks so much for stopping by today, and remember to take some time to enjoy the little things. Have a great day. Bye.